Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardstown, Massachusetts with a 1965 Chrysler Imperial Crown. Okay, hold on. It's actually not a Chrysler. So remember that from 1954 through 1970, Chrysler was its own thing. Of course, Chrysler Corporation. Imperial was a division of the Chrysler Corporation, again, from 1954 through 1970. So it's not a Chrysler Imperial, it's an Imperial. Again, Chrysler would have the New Yorker, which was quite a different car from the Imperial. In fact, the Imperial, as we see it here, was a very expensive car, $5,600 in 1965, which was twice the price of a Dodge Dart. So basically, if you bought an Imperial, you had some money to spend. Now, the thing about 1965 and 66, well, 66 in particular, the final year for body on-frame construction. For 1967, Imperial would go to unit construction like other Chrysler cars, kind of decontented. And here we see right here, the tail end of that massive frame. Hear that? That thing. That's the frame. The sad but true fact is that people would buy these things for use in demolition derbies, put it in reverse and just batter ram your way through the LTDs and the Cadillacs and all the competitors. And generally speaking, the Imperials before 67 were the last cars standing at demo derbies for, dozens of years as these cars met their fates at country fairs and, at the hands of their last owners. But again, 67, these would go to unit construction and would no longer be as advantageous with demo derby use. Not that you'd want to do something like that to a car like this. Now, this being a 65, second year for this faux Continental kit. Now, here's the irony. This thing here pays tribute to the Lincoln Continental Mark II of 1956 and 57, which had a big round Continental spare, which was a tribute to the 1941-ish Lincoln Continental. So again, Lincoln didn't use this, but when Elwood Engel came from Ford to Chrysler and he restyled these cars, he brought with him the faux Continental look, but squared it off. And the crazy thing is that Lincoln didn't even use this again until 1969 in the Continental Mark III. So Lincoln kind of lost their Continental kit to Imperial by way of Engler, who was the designer. Okay, let's look inside here, and we can see traces of the Robin's Egg Blue right here inside. You can sort of tell what color a car was way back when by this. And of course, something you see only on Imperials are these little covers here that cover up the ugliness of the metal. And again, these are forged hinges right here, whereas on a lesser Chrysler product, that would be a stamping, a U-shape. So again, these were heavy cars, thicker metal, generally speaking. And this right here is a 1964 AMT Imperial model kit box, kind of cool. This is the custom version on the cover, customized by Gene Winfield. And again, convertible was certainly a possibility in Imperial land. And 1964, again, second year for the faux Continental look right there. And again, this is 64, so this is the year that they finally went to exposed headlights. And something on this car that we see that was never available on an Imperial is the cross ram or the long ram engine, strictly from the Chrysler 300 series right there. But in a model kit, you can take a little artistic license. But again, the convertible body style was the rarest of all. And in fact, in 1965, 16,235 Imperial Crowns were built. Of them, the vast majority, or 11,628, were four-door hardtops like this one. And speaking of hardtop, what that means is no pillars. If you open the door and you put the windows down, these chrome frames go right down into the doors. It would also go here. That's not going to open, but this is just a big open area. So that's the beauty of a hardtop versus a sedan. And in fact, in 65, there were no Imperial sedans. There were in earlier years, but by this point in time, there were strictly four-door hardtops, two doors, or convertibles. But again, 11,000 and change, the vast majority were four-door hardtops like this one. Now, 1965 brought the first year for no more push buttons. This is an automatic car, but it has a more traditional lever on the right-hand side of the steering column, which again was new for 1965 as Chrysler moved away from the push button drive that would have been seen from 56 through 64 on Imperials. This one does, of course, have power brakes. They all did. This one has air conditioning, a tilt column right here. We can see still functional. Very cool wood trim. That's actually veneer wood, truly is wood right there on the internal surfaces. So again, the Imperial for $5,691, you got a fair amount of luxury baked in. Now, getting to the front of this thing, we'll notice once again, this front subframe here is not abbreviated under the seat like it would be on a Chrysler or a Dodge or a Plymouth full-size. This is the other end of that full frame that goes all the way to the back bumper. And again, massive structure right here. And again, these things very strong in the nose, but the trick again was to put it in reverse and use the tail as a battering ram. Kind of ugly to think about that. But again, one engine only, none of that long ram stuff we saw in that model car. Would have been a single 4-barrel, 413 in 1965, 340 horsepower. And we can see that these had single exhaust. Here's the head pipe. Both banks would feed into this Y and then out the back of the car through the single track going down the back. The point of it was quieter, like Cadillac. You know, after 1961, Cadillac had nothing to do with dual exhaust. They had a big single flow, single unit, but again, the dual exhaust could set up a drumming inside of the car that, you know, you don't want to hear that in your Imperial. It's not a Hemi Cuda. You don't want to hear that. And something else that was in its final year for 1965 is this thing right here. This is the cable-operated shifter for the torque flight. This would have fed into the side of the case, and when you move the transmission lever, this would have gone and moved the rooster comb on the valve body inside. For 1966, this would have been replaced by levers and rods. So 65, final year for the cable-operated 727 torque flight. No disc brakes yet, just big 12-inch drums on the Imperial. We see it right here. Torsion bar front suspension, like a lesser Chrysler New Yorker or even a Chrysler Newport. Here they are again, the torsion bars here. But again, specific to the Imperial because they're larger in diameter and again, a little different in length because they go longer. It's a full frame car. Now, the thing is, this car is missing its nose, but thanks to Motor Trend, we can learn about what this looked like. Now, I have to thank Motor Trend, the October 64 issue, for bringing us the front of this car. So we'll go easy on them. No. Canceled? What do you mean we're canceled? Anyway, inside here we find, if you look on the right, that is what the front of this thing would have looked like. Now, 1965 was the first year for those glass panes in front of the round headlights. And in fact, they used them also on the Chrysler 300s and the New Yorkers. An interesting touch right there. They don't come down. They're basically fixed in place and only used in 65 and 66. And on a Chrysler 300 here, again, we see those, they're tempered glass and they cover the round seal beam headlights. Kind of a nuisance a little bit when it comes down to servicing. But with that said, kind of a cool look. Only seen for 2 years, 1965 and 66. But again, the grille and the nose on this one has been harvested, hopefully for another Imperial and not, you know, to replace a demolition derby accident or damaged car. But again, a beautiful example of, you know, one of the next to last years for the full frame Chrysler. Don't say Chrysler Imperial, it's an Imperial. Because again, up till 1970, these were their own division. Now here's the thing, in 1965, Imperial was in 14th place in Detroit. They were not selling like hotcakes by any stretch. And in fact, it's likely that Imperial lost money for Chrysler Corporation. But as Chrysler Corporation's halo brand, the Imperial was worth losing some money because they got the umbrella effect, the trickle-down effect of the glamour of the Imperial. People like Frank Sinatra, Audrey Hepburn would own a car like this, and you could be like them and buy yourself a Chrysler Newport and have the look, but less of a cost. So again, even though these cars probably didn't make money and were in 14th spot in all of Detroit, which ain't saying much, they were popular cars to a degree, and they certainly had their part in helping Chrysler Corporation sell all kinds of lesser vehicles. So that's the story of the 65 Imperial Crown 4-door hardtop. If you like this video, be sure to share it with your friends, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, etc. And hit the bell so you know when the next video hits, which is tomorrow morning.